D.R. Horton sounded the alarm on housing demand in its recent earnings report. The home builder cut its full-year outlook, citing a slower than expected start to the home buying season, as would-be buyers remain cautious. Here to discuss the spring home buying season, we've got Adam Pretorius, who is a real estate agent with Lepick Kroger Realtors working in Iowa City. Good to have you here with us, Adam. Would you agree with D.R. Horton's characterization that the spring home buying season has been off to a slow start?
Well, here in the Midwest in Iowa, we're seeing actually an increase in sales. I mean, we just came off last year, one of the worst years we had in many decades, where we were at an all-time low, sales had declined. But this year we've seen a 10% increase. But I think buyers are becoming more picky. They're choosing between their options much more, and new construction has had such a large increase in costs that many are looking more towards resales.
And so, let's talk about inventory. Census data showed new residential construction in March. It fell by the most in a year. What are you seeing in terms of supply and demand in today's market?
So it's still a complete mismatch, right? That is the biggest problem in real estate is we just don't have enough supply to meet the demand. And that goes for both rentals and for purchases. Those are your two options when it comes to housing. And that is creating much of the issue with pricing. I mean, we've seen prices even last year with the sales going down. We still saw prices go up 7%, which shouldn't have occurred. You'd expect the opposite. But this year we've seen prices still increase another 10% off that. So prices are probably the biggest issue, which is just a product of that mismatch of the supply and demand.
Now, you tend to work on the more luxury end side of the scale here, higher cost luxury homes. Have you found that the traffic in your area, what have you been able to make of that? Is it folks upgrading their house or people relocating to Iowa City from other places in the U.S.?
Yeah, I mean, during the pandemic era, we saw a surge in people doing much more remodel projects. And now we've kind of seen that pull back a little bit. The new construction has softened in the luxury market. We haven't seen quite as much new construction sales as we did during the pandemic. But we're seeing a little bit of a resurgence in that luxury market locally. But the days on market for new builds is much higher than it has been, say, during the pandemic in the last 4 years. And the capital that people are able to get, for builders to get rather, to do these projects has tightened up as rates have gone up. And not only is it harder to get capital, but when you do get capital, we're now seeing, the cost of capital anywhere from like 9 to 10% on these loans, which is double what we saw during the pandemic era. So builders are having to pass those costs on, and most of construction is cost plus pricing. So we just see those prices increase, and it makes it much more challenging, I think, when a buyer's faced with the option to buy a new or a resale, to go for new when those costs keep going up.
You shared 3 strategies for sellers in this environment: pricing, timing, and positioning. Could you break those down for us?
Yeah, I mean, every market is their own local sport. So every market's going to have different market cycles. And you should really work on timing. That is such a big product of pricing. We always focus on pricing, but we don't think about timing as much. So locally, for example, I have a spring and a fall market. Our slowest time of the year is August, July, and June in that order. So if you're a seller, it doesn't make sense to go on during a slow market. You really want to make sure that you time things ahead of time. And then positioning, because positioning is what we make value propositions on as buyers. It's what your house is versus another house is worth. And that's often what we see on new construction too, because resales are a product of the cost to build new. And so resales are a discount of new construction, and so more people will flock towards resales if the discount is enough versus the cost to build new.
Yeah, following on that positioning comment, you mentioned the power of social media in today's market. What should sellers look for in their agents' Instagram or TikTok as they're looking to try and make sure that they're kind of meeting people, meeting buyers, where they're spending the most screen time?
Yeah, this is totally crazy to me. But we went from using the book pre-century, where every brokerage had their own book before the digital age, and then we went to the internet, and the internet sold real estate, and now social media is selling real estate. So it's no longer just going to look for your agents present online, their website. Go check out their handle, their profiles, their social media strategies. What is that presence? There's a reason why so many companies are putting so much money into social media, and that's because it sells products. It also sells real real estate. And so make sure that the agent that you hire has a good social presence, that they're actually able to broadcast you to channels, because social media reaches such a bigger market, not just your local, but maybe it's relocation buyers from outside of town or across the US or internationally.